I never thought I'd live to see a day when my own home felt foreign to me. You spend a lifetime building a life, brick by brick, memory by memory, and one day you wake up and everything feels distant. My name is Eleanor. I am 73 years old. And this house, this quiet house, was once filled with laughter. My husband, Thomas, he had the loudest laugh in the neighborhood. You could hear it from the porch in the summer evenings. We built this home together, you see, with our hands and our hearts and every dream we ever dared to speak out loud. Now, it's just me and the quiet and the hum of the refrigerator at night. People talk about grief like it's crying, but grief is not crying. Grief is the empty chair at the dinner table. It's the second pillow no one touches. It's the way the house seems too big for just one heartbeat. I thought I could handle that. The silence, the emptiness, the long days. But what I didn't expect was the look in my children's eyes when they came to visit. Not concern, not love, something else, something colder, something calculating, something that didn't look like my babies anymore. You see, when a woman gets old, people don't look at her and see a person anymore. They see responsibility, they see burden. They see time ticking. And sometimes they see opportunity. I didn't know it then, but that was the day everything changed. The day they said, "Mom, we need to talk." I remember the way my son, Daniel, looked at me that afternoon. His voice was soft, too soft, like the way you speak to a child, or to someone fragile, or to someone you've already made a decision about. He sat beside me on the couch, hands folded neatly, like he had rehearsed the moment in the car. "Mom," he said, "we've been thinking about you, and we just want what's best." Best. It's funny how that word changes over a lifetime. When he was little, best meant staying up late to watch fireflies with his father. When he was in high school, best meant new basketball shoes and a packed lunch. When he married, best meant making sure his children had what they needed. But now, best came with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. And then my daughter, Claire. She reached out and touched my hand. Her hand was warm, but her voice was colder than winter tile. "Mom," she said, "you shouldn't be alone in this big house. It's not safe. You can't keep up with everything anymore. We worry about you." Worry. Another word that changes meaning. They didn't worry when I was here alone in the dark after their father died. They didn't worry when I spent nights talking to an empty room just so I could hear a voice. They worried only when time and house and inheritance entered the picture. But I didn't say that. No, I just listened. Claire kept talking, her voice syrup sweet and practiced. "There's a place just outside town," she said. "Really lovely. Activities, nurses, everything taken care of. You wouldn't have to worry about anything. You could finally relax." Relax. Another word that tasted wrong in my mouth. I looked around my home. The curtains Thomas chose, the clock we bought at an antique fair, the dining table where we played cards every Friday night. Relax. In a room with no history, no memories, no ghosts of laughter. Daniel leaned forward then. He placed a brochure on the table. They had come prepared. There were photos, smiling elderly couples, gardens, sunlit hallways, fake joy painted like wallpaper. And there, at the bottom corner, bold and small, as if hoping I wouldn't notice, "Sale of current property recommended to support ongoing care." I felt something in my chest shift. Not break, just settle. They weren't here for me. They were here for this house. The home their father and I built with our hands and our love and our years. The home that held every memory of our lives together. They spoke gently, like caretakers, like saviors, but every word was the sound of a lock turning, and I sat very still because I knew something they didn't know yet. I was not as alone as they believed. Not in my heart, not in my memory, not in my strength. They thought my age made me weak, but grief had carved me into something stronger, something that does not break. I smiled. Not because I agreed, but because I finally understood. This was not about safety. This was about convenience. This was about control. This was about what would be easier for them, not what was best for me. I didn't answer them right away. I just sat there, my eyes resting on that brochure, but not really seeing it. It's strange how betrayal doesn't always arrive like a storm. Sometimes it comes like a soft breeze, barely noticeable at first, until you realize the room has gone cold. I traced my fingers along the edge of the paper, the glossy finish, the stage smiles, the well-trimmed garden paths and pastel-colored walls. Everything designed to look gentle, inviting, kind. But there was no kindness in it. Not for me. Claire kept talking. Her tone stayed warm, soothing even. "Mom, you deserve to rest," she said. "You've worked your whole life. You shouldn't have to clean or cook or worry anymore." Rest. They always say that when they want you to disappear quietly. Daniel added, "We'll handle the house. We'll get everything sorted. You won't have to deal with any of it." And there it was, the key turning fully in the lock. The house. The house. It was always about the house. They didn't look at this place and see a lifetime. They saw equity. They saw value. They saw something they could put on the market. To this day, I don't know which hurt more, the suggestion of the nursing home or the realization that the home I built meant more to them as money than as memory. I felt my throat tighten, not like I was going to cry, but like I had swallowed something sharp. Yet still, I did not speak. Not yet. Because I have learned something that only time can teach you. There is power in silence. People reveal themselves when you do not argue. People tell you everything when you do not interrupt. So, I listen. I listened to my daughter explain how the transition would work. I listened to my son outline the logistics of moving day. They had already planned it, down to dates, down to furniture, down to signatures. They didn't come to ask. They came to inform, to decide for me, to move my life like a box in a storage truck. And yet, I didn't raise my voice. I didn't plead. I didn't tremble. I simply said, "Let me think." Their relief was immediate, too immediate. They thought they had already won. But behind my quiet eyes, behind the soft nod I gave, something was forming. Not anger, not revenge, just a choice. A choice that was mine and mine alone. Because they had forgotten something. This house wasn't just walls and windows. It was love. It was history. It was my life. And I wasn't done living it. Not yet. I waited until they left. They kissed my cheek as they walked out the door, told me they loved me, told me they were only trying to help. And I nodded, and I thanked them, and I watched their car pull out of the driveway, just like I did when they were teenagers learning to drive. Back then, I worried they'd go too fast. Now, I worried they'd forgotten how to slow down. When the house was quiet again, I sat in my husband's chair, the old recliner by the window, the one with the faded armrests and the cushion molded to the shape of his body. I closed my eyes, and I tried to remember the sound of his voice when he used to say my name. Thomas always said I was the strongest woman he knew. I never believed him, not until that afternoon when the silence didn't feel like loneliness anymore. It felt like a beginning. I stood up slowly and walked through the house, room by room, touching the walls the way you touch the face of someone you love. The kitchen still smelled of coffee. The hallway photos still smiled at me. Our bedroom still held the warmth of years layered over each other. This house was not a burden. It was a memory of love made solid. And I realized something as I stood there, hands resting on the banister he carved himself. They thought age made me fragile. They thought grief made me weak. They thought loneliness made me desperate. But they were wrong. Grief had taught me something. It had taught me how to sit with myself, how to listen to the quiet, how to understand my own heart better than anyone else ever could. I didn't need saving. I needed respect. I needed my life to be mine. So I made tea the way I always do, slow, with intention, and I sat back down at the table with that brochure in front of me. I looked at every picture, every smiling face, every soft-colored hallway, and I whispered, almost to myself, no. Not loud, not dramatic, just no. My children thought I was old. They thought I would bend. They thought I would break. But they forgot. Age does not weaken the woman like me. It hardens her, polishes her, strengthens her roots. I had survived love. I had survived loss. I had survived loneliness. This I could survive too. But I wouldn't just survive. I would choose. And that choice would change everything. I didn't call them. Not that night. Not the next morning. Not for 3 days. The house was quiet, but it no longer felt empty. It felt like it was waiting with me. There's a kind of strength that arrives quietly, like dawn light moving slowly across the floor. You don't notice it at first, but then you stand up and realize you're different. I began with the small things. I opened every drawer in this house, every cabinet, every closet. Not to pack, not to sort, just to remember. This house was a map of a life. Every corner had a story. Every object had a heartbeat. In the hall closet, I found the sweater Thomas bought me on our 25th anniversary. I held it to my chest and felt the memory breathe again. In the kitchen drawer, I found the recipe card with my mother's handwriting. The ink faded, but her love still warm. In the back of the hallway shelf, I found his toolbox, the one he refused to replace, even when the handle splintered. I sat on the floor and held that box, not crying, not breaking, just remembering. That's when I made my decision. I would not let my children sell this house like it was just wood and walls. I would not let them decide where I live as if I had already died. I would not be placed anywhere like an object. I wanted to live, not wait to be finished. So I called someone, not my children. I called my lawyer, a man who has known me for 30 years, who watched my children grow up, who stood at my husband's funeral with his hat in his hands. He came the next morning. We sat at my kitchen table with the morning light coming in sideways through the lace curtains. No drama, no panic, just two old friends and a pot of coffee. I told him everything. He didn't interrupt. He didn't tell me I was overreacting. He didn't tell me to be understanding or patient or forgiving. He just listened. When I finished, he nodded once. Just once. And he said, softly, "Eleanor, you have more power than they think." I felt something in my chest rise. Not pride, not anger, relief. I was not trapped. I was not helpless. I was not alone. There was still something I could do, something that was mine. We talked for an hour, maybe more. When he left, I walked him to the door. He did not comfort me. He did not pat my hand. He did not treat me like a fragile thing. He looked me in the eyes like an equal, and he said, "When you're ready, call them, not before." And so I waited, not out of fear, but out of preparation. Because strength is not always loud. Sometimes strength is simply knowing that the next move belongs to you and only you. I waited until Sunday. They always come on Sundays. Routine is a strange comfort, even in distance. Claire entered first, like she always does, with a tote bag full of things I didn't ask for. Healthy snacks, magazines, a new blanket. Gifts can be weapons, too, when they come with conditions. Daniel followed with that same careful expression, the one that says he believes he's doing the right thing, or at least wants to believe it. We sat in the living room, the three of us, just like they were children, only then I was the one trying to protect them from a world that would hurt them. Now, I was protecting myself from them. I let the moment breathe. No rush, no tension, just silence. Then I spoke. Not loud, not confrontational, just steady. "I've thought about what you said." Their shoulders relaxed. I could see it, the quiet relief of people who think they've already won. "I understand your concerns. I understand your fears." I looked at each of them, really, looked. These were the faces I memorized before they could speak. I knew every freckle, every childhood scar, every way they smiled when they wanted something. But they did not know me anymore. And so I told them, I am not moving. Claire blinked. Daniel's smile stiffened, just slightly. I kept going. This house is my life, my memories, my love. Your father's hands are in every nail and beam of this place. I touched the arm of the chair beside me. His chair. I will not leave him, I said softly. Not while I still breathe. Claire tried to interrupt. Mom, I raised my hand, just a few inches, and she stopped. For many years, I said, I thought strength meant enduring, staying quiet, not causing trouble. But strength, I said, with the calm of a sunrise, is knowing when something is yours to protect. Daniel leaned forward. Mom, be reasonable. I shook my head. No, this time you be reasonable. Their expressions changed then, subtle but unmistakable. The warmth evaporated, and there it was, the truth. Not spoken, but seen. They wanted the house, not me. I didn't need to argue. I didn't need to prove anything. I had already made my choice. So I ended it with one sentence. I am staying here, and the house is not for sale. The silence afterward was the loudest I had ever heard. Not angry, not shocked, just realization. They left soon after. No hugs, no promises to call. The door closed with a soft, tired sound. But I did not feel abandoned. I felt free. The house is quiet again, but it does not feel empty. Not anymore. There is a kind of peace that comes when you choose yourself, not out of pride, not out of anger, just understanding. I set 2 cups on the kitchen table this morning. I still do that sometimes. Old habits don't leave easily. One for me, one for the memory of the man I loved. I talk to him sometimes, not with words, just with the quiet. I think he would be proud of me, not because I fought, but because I didn't let the world decide who I was when I was already someone. I think about my children more often than I admit. I remember their small hands holding mine, the scraped knees, the bedtime stories, the birthdays with lopsided cakes, the laughter that used to fill these rooms in a way sunlight never could. I love them. That has never changed. It may never change. But love is not surrender. Love does not mean giving away your life to be convenient. Somewhere along the way, they forgot who I was. But I remember. I am the woman who carried them, fed them, held them through sickness and nightmares, worked when I was tired, stayed when I was broken, held this family together when the world was falling apart. Age did not take that from me. Grief did not take that from me. Time did not take that from me. I am still here. I still have worth. I still have voice. I still have breath. One day, maybe, they will remember the sound of my laugh, the feel of my hand on theirs, the home that raised them and sheltered them and forgave them more times than they'll ever know. One day, they may knock on this door not for what they can take, but because they remember love. And if that day comes, this house will still be here, warm, quiet, waiting, not as a place to own, but as a place that holds us. The door is not closed. It is simply not open for the wrong reasons. I am not angry. I am not bitter. I am just finally myself. And that, after all these years, is enough.